Namaste. Welcome to Sipping on Stories podcast. Now, this is where we welcome women healers and spiritual leaders from all around the world to come and share their journeys and their experiences. And of course, we do them over warm cups and deep thoughts. Now, many of you have been loving our podcast episodes. Thank you so much for showing your love. And for those who are new to this channel, welcome. Please like and subscribe so we can continue to share this love. Thank you. Namaste, everyone. Welcome back to Sipping on Stories podcast. Today, we're deep diving into the wild, confusing, and sometimes soul-shaking world of modern love. Ghosting, breadcrumbing, situationships sound familiar? But what if I told you that every messy connections is actually a mirror reflecting back our deepest wounds and our soul's desires? My guest today doesn't just coach people through relationships, she helps them heal at the root. Childhood patterns, ancestral stories, generational trauma, nothing escapes her loving yet truth-telling gaze. Sulekha is here to help us upgrade our love lives from chaotic to conscious. So whether you are single, entangled, or somewhere in between, get ready because this conversation is going to light a fire in your heart and probably your DMs too. So let's get in. Namaste, Sulekha. Welcome to Sipping on Stories podcast. I am so thrilled to have you here today. First of all, tell us where you're joining us from and what choice of beverage you've got with you today to sip along.
Thank you, Serene. Namaste, and thank you so much for this opportunity to talk while sipping, share stories while sipping on some really nice tea. And I'm joining from Mumbai in India, and I'm so glad to be talking to you.
Yeah. Oh, likewise. I am thrilled. And, Sulekha, I thought that you definitely, blew my mind the last time we spoke. And we connected so well and bonded so well. I just felt like, I found a friend. So I think you're a beautiful person to talk to. Coming from you, the kind of topics that we're going to uncover today is very interesting. So I want you to kind of start off with, you say that relationship with ourselves is the foundation. So what does a spiritually aligned relationship with self look like to you? And how does that shape our external relationships?
Yeah, and before I begin, the feeling is likewise. I loved talking to you, and I'm so glad that I'm able to share my own experiences with relationship and my passion for relationship on this podcast with you. So to start with, the relationship before anything actually roots in the relationship with ourselves.
Hmm.
If that is good, you have a great relationship in life. If the root of a tree, like you see in a tree or a plant, if the
Hmm.
root of the plant is, retarded or it's overwatered, underwatered, there are some problems, the plant is not going to survive. And that's exactly the case with the relationship we build outside.
Hmm.
If the root in our own self, the relationship with our own self is neglectful, emotional, full of emotional unavailability, uncertainties, fear, abandoning, only accepting our good parts, rejecting our bad parts, or rejecting our anger or any kind of emotion that it does not feel good to the body,
Yeah.
reflects the same in the relationship you have with the partner. And why specifically with the partner? Because all of these things are actually created in a relational context when we are child, like when we are a child in childhood. The first kind of relationship we have when we take birth is with mom and dad.
Yeah.
That's the first relational contact we have, and the foundation built in the first 6 to 7 years
Hmm.
determines what kind of relationship you're going to have in the rest of your life,
Hmm.
like literally the rest of your life. But the good news is you can change it with your will. Like one of my mentors, one of my gurus say that there's nothing greater than the will. If you have the will to change your narratives, to change your patterns, you know, destiny can change, relationships can change, anything and everything can change. Will is that big.
Yeah, as
So
you say. Where there is will, there is a way.
Yeah, yeah. If there's a will, it's said that there's nothing greater than the personal will. If you have the will, you can change anything. People with very bad relationship with themselves, when they do the work, which is called inner work, or they work on their patterns, they work with, meditation, therapy, coaching, and some psychological coaching around it, they do change, and hence their relationship changes. A person once abandoned doesn't have to feel abandoned for the rest of their lives. And
Hmm.
that's the root of our relationship with ourselves.
Yeah.
Once we fix that, we fix any and every relationship that happens in our vicinity, be it romantic, be it with colleagues, be it with your manager, your neighbors, your in laws, anything.
Yeah. It's easier said than done, right? A lot of people, like, how do you start loving yourself? Where do you start, Sulekha? Like, where can people like begin? Because this platform or this podcast is where I would love people to have some actionable insights where they can start applying from day one, coming from a beautiful guest like yourself. So where can one start? And of course, I understand that having extreme level of self-awareness would be so important in this journey, even to realize or understand what are your bad things, what are your bad parts that you are rejecting all the time. Are you in denial? Because a lot of people live in denial, I feel, not accepting the truth. So where can one actually start?
So, one very practical way to start is tending to your inner child. So we all have three people inside us. If you're adult, if you're grown up, we have three people inside us. Two we naturally have, which is an inner child, which is the yin, which
Mm-hmm.
is the feminine part of oneself, which is more emotional, more playful, more flowy in nature, and they are more demanding. They are more, they want to control. They want to just cry when they want to feel like crying. They want to laugh and play when they feel happy. And the second person is the inner adult,
Mm-hmm.
which is a more logical person. Do this, don't do that. Oh, don't cry over that. That's not worth crying. Oh, you don't feel bad when someone rejects you. It's okay. That's the inner adult speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And the third and the very important part that someone can develop as a practical way of building a good relationship with oneself is developing an inner parent. Who is an inner parent? The inner parent is wiser than the inner child and the inner adult. It's a mix of reasoning and it's a mix of emotional acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
It's the parenting that you give to yourself from a wise self which you couldn't receive in your childhood.
Right. It's
Your
interesting.
mother was not available for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's your duty of for you to cultivate an inner parent, to have an inner mother that's available for you. The duty of your inner parent has to make sure you don't invalidate the child when he or she wants to play or when he or she wants to cry.
Mm-hmm.
The role of the inner parent is to not let the inner adult lead the way. Oh, don't do this, don't be so emotional, or don't be so empathetic, or people will use you if you're too emotional or too empathetic
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So it's cultivating an inner parent along with the inner child and inner adult is one most practical way to develop a good relationship with oneself.
Right.
When something inside you wants to cry, letting that cry and talking to it as if you're talking to a child. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
little Sulekha, I know you're hurt right now, you feel abandoned right now, but I just wanted to let you know that it's not personal. What they did is not personal, and I'm here until you want to be sad. I allow you to be sad. As simple as that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Second practical way that I would highly recommend is acceptance of bad parts.
Hmm.
We accept all the good parts of us. Oh, I speak well. I look so beautiful in that dress. I cook this so nicely. All of my friends love my storytelling and so on. But what about the parts that are not so good?
Yeah. Don't judge yourself, basically, too hard. Yeah.
Bad parts like, oh, I lose my temper when something like this happens.
Mm,
I lose myself. I get so anxious when this happens. It's okay. We don't have to run away from that anger, run away from that anxiety. The way to cultivate a good relationship with ourselves is just reminding us consistently
yeah.
that all the bad parts are equally valuable as the good parts.
Hmm.
If we don't accept them, nobody, not even your partner, not your mom, dad, nobody can come and accept them for you. And that is the, pit where you dig yourself for the suffering.
Hmm. Yeah, makes sense. Totally. So how do like ancestral wounds and generational pattern kind of, show up in, one's life while they're trying to maybe cultivate self-love or even in a relationship, be it parents, be it spouses or siblings. So what role does spiritual awareness play in breaking those cycles?
Very interesting question. So, what is an ancestral wound in the first place? It sounds very, tricky or deep, but it's as simple as an unresolved trauma that one of your ancestors, your mom or dad or uncle, aunt, or your grandparent or your uncle and aunt grandparent had, they never resolved it, and now it's passed down onto you as a form of an emotional pattern, and it's messing up with your life right now.
Hmm.
But the tricky part is recognizing it. Who had it?
Yeah, I was just going to ask
Sometimes,
you that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so many times, what happens is when I work with my clients, and my clients say this very unusual thing that I don't know why I do this. I have no experience in the past to be doing this. I just can't understand why I do this again and again, and I hate this thing about me. And
Hmm.
I really want to change this.
Yeah. So, Lekha, can
That's
you give us
where,
an example just
yeah,
to make this easier for our audience?
yes. For example, if your just imagine if your granddad had a relationship out of marriage.
Hmm.
It was infidelity in his marriage, and the grandmother, of course, felt rejected, ignored, and silently suffered through it. And the grandfather, even though on the surface he enjoyed it, he was overcome by guilt, he was overcome by shame, he was overcome by the lack of providence and the lack of love he couldn't, he had for his wife,
Hmm.
your grandmother. They never resolved it, being from that generation where they didn't communicate things, or they never had the chance, or it was a true patriarchal household. It never got resolved. So what really happened was the trauma here, the issue here got postponed. An emotional wound, sorry, an ancestral wound is a postponed trauma. It could have been resolved there, done and dusted, everything would have sorted, some solution would have been adopted, but no, it never got resolved. It not passed down to your dad, it passed on to your aunt. Something happened, they repeated this pattern, and now it has passed on to you, and maybe it is showing up as the urge to do infidelity again and again in a relationship and not being able to commit in one relationship. As simple as that. Something that you cannot define, something that, the client example that I was giving, that I don't know why it happens, but it keeps happening with me. And the reason is that it may not be yours.
Yeah.
You might be repeating something that has happened in your family tree. And there's a reason why that happens in systematic medicine, in family tree, in family system. What happens is there's an unconscious loyalty we have for all our family members. If one or more of your family members couldn't have that great relationship, you will have that unconscious loyalty towards them that will not allow you to have a great and fulfilling relationship until and unless you break that bond.
Right.
Does that help?
Yeah. 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 It's clearer. Yeah. So thank you for, providing that example. I think the audiences will better connect when we kind of relate back to some examples and in a real life scenarios and examples. So, thank you for sharing that. And, in a world full of situationships, so like what soul lessons do you think this generation is being called to learn about, love and connection? um, because the way we talk about um, even the generational trauma which is passing down from the family tree line and linked to like past lives karmas, this whole thing, there are a lot of questions as rise up, from sometimes I'm confused as well. So how do you kind of explain that? And um, people get into the situationship, so what are they learning from this? So from just adding a little spiritual angle um to that.
Yeah, that's a great question because it's very prevalent in today's time, and I see a lot of people struggling with some kind of situationship that's happening with them. They wanted to convert into a full relationship, and there's one example I always try to give them to help them but better understand the situationship, and that is that a situationship is like a bridge
Hmm.
which is half built. You walk some part where pleasure, chemistry, the good parts of relationship are involved, but the bridge is half built. You will fall after walking certain steps. And you know what is the second half of that bridge? That second half of that bridge that's lacking in a situationship is actually commitment.
Right.
And that full bridge actually, starting from point A to point B, is actually the full relationship. And
Mm,
when it's half done, when the bridge is half done, it's just situationship. And what is the result? You fall down.
mm,
In real life, the result is anxiety. Oh, why they are not choosing me? Oh, why is this happening this way? Why is there so much of emotional unavailability? Why does this cannot take a full relationship form? Loneliness. You are with someone, but you're not with someone.
mhm,
You are their girlfriend, but you are not their girlfriend at the same time. And there is emotional roller coaster. One day you're so high, and another day you're so low.
mm,
So, what kind of lessons the situationships are actually giving to oneself in an energetic and spiritual way is it's actually showing you what is the problem inside you.
mm,
Anyone hearing this, if you're in a situationship, you just need to see what it's showing you, and it will be a very direct picture of what's really happening in your internal world.
mm,
If there's emotional availability, it's for you to question where you have abandoned your emotions in the past or in the current scenarios.
really
If there's
interesting.
a fear of commitment, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
say something.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to add that it's so true that when you say um, the kind of lessons, the kind of people we meet, the kind of situations we get into is really a mirror of what is going on inside us. And a lot of people fail to kind of understand that firsthand. And then there is a lot of blame game, right? You don't do this, you don't do that. And I think we fail to look into ourselves like, do I do that? Or do I not do this? I think that is so true. And I just wanted to say that I agree. And I have personally experienced that. And I've seen people experiencing the same who are close to me. So I think that's amazing. So go on.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Just like you said, I've heard this from literally everyone who is actually unfortunately into a situationship like that,
Mm,
and the complaint is always that they don't do this,
yeah.
do that. And my invitation to them always is that, what do you do?
Mm,
What are you doing? What are you doing inside that dynamic? Why are you not walking away? What is stopping you from walking away? And then we work on that.
mm,
Because really, a situationship is just showing you the mirror of what is happening inside you. Like I said, emotional availability. Where are you abandoning your emotions?
mm,
Fear of commitment. Why do you fear commitment? Is it because of your low self worth?
Yeah.
Do you not consider yourself worthy of a committed partner,
Mm,
of a marriage, of a loving partnership?
mm,
Fear of intimacy. Why are you afraid of intimacy? Did you get hurt during childhood when there was, expression of love? Or did someone unfortunately abuse you when you were little or when you were a teenager? And that's why you fear the intimacy. And in worst cases, in most, in like many cases, a situationship is a reflection of the abuse that was done in past, maybe a physical, emotional, verbal abuse, and it is now just being reflected in a term of a situationship, just asking for you, pleading for you to look into it and work on it, resolve it. That's all.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. Understand.
If you keep looking at the other person, oh, why do they do this? You will
Mm,
not be able to resolve it until and unless you start keeping it on yourself. Oh, what am I doing here wrong?
mm.
Or what's for me to improve?
Yeah.
What's for me to change?
Mm.
That's the key point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at this point, because I feel like a lot of people are so emotionally driven at times and they fail to also connect. I feel like to the inner self, more to the intuition, I feel. Um, Given, life, people are working, they've got kids, they have to deal with relationships, and so much going on. There's so much drama externally, internally. So, from your experience, what would you recommend? People, where can they start? Some of the practices they can do. I think you mentioned was, I think, meditation or maybe like journaling. So, how can they start helping themselves? Or is there anything else that you can recommend as where they can start? Is it really like, take off that, I think, emotional garbage and all that is not required, so people can start aligning more to their higher self, so they can start recognizing and working, or even to have the ability to put a mirror in front of them, right? It's hard, it's difficult. So what are some of the practices you would recommend, Sulekha, for our audiences today?
Very interesting because until and unless you really put it into practice, none of these theories make sense. None
Mm,
of these theories work. So one of my favorite methods is to keep a journal for things. For example, when I was actively dating to build a conscious relationship, I've had a messy, bad breakup in the past. I had taken like 1 or 2 years off, completely off dating to work on myself. And the things I did consistently was keep a journal, keep a note of how I am being triggered by any of my dates,
mm,
and what is that trigger trying to teach me. Because if it's just one thought, it will get lost in so many thousands of thoughts you have in one day.
mm,
But when you verbalize it or when you write it becomes a treasure house for you to come back to it again and again and maybe work on it whenever you find the right time or free time.
yeah.
What's happening in the dating scene, how many people I met, what are the triggers I felt in each of them. Oh, this person abandoned me. No, why did I feel abandoned? Maybe this way,
Mm,
maybe because of this. Or, oh, I reacted so bad with this date of mine. What could have been, gone better? I could have reacted in a more positive way like this. I could have postponed my reaction and waited for a response instead of a
mm,
reaction.
mm. Absolutely, yeah.
So, keeping a journal. And secondly, forming a very simple, if you're not into meditation at all, then starting with very few minutes of meditation because it will really help you to maintain that journal well and reflect really well.
It's beautiful advice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can understand that many times for many people, it's very difficult to start with meditation because it's a fear of sitting for so many hours in one place, not doing anything. No, that's not, that meditation does not have to look like that. It can be as simple as putting on a guided meditation on YouTube, free of cost,
Yeah.
sitting there, looking within, reflecting. following the guided instructions, and just fulfilling those 4 or 5 minutes of meditation. That's it. It will help us in recognizing our patterns better,
Yes.
so that we don't react outside to our dates, to our partners, to our spouses, so on.
Yeah, that's
Another
absolutely beautiful. Yes. Yeah.
another one for maybe married couples, um, is that instead of, you know, pertaining to that urge of having the spouse being responsible for some kind of mistake, you did it. No. A better way would be the I statements.
Mm-hmm.
I would really like if you do it this way.
Mm.
For example, if you really feel burdened with the dishes and you don't like it, even putting them into the dishwasher makes you feel that you're not supported. A simple way can be, instead of going to them and saying, "You don't help me with the dishes and I don't like it," simple, rearrangement of the sentence in I terms. "Hey baby, I feel unsupported when you don't help me with this. Could you please make sure that you do this so that I feel more supported in our relationship? I will really appreciate it."
Mm.
The
Yeah.
first one, the first sentence was, "You don't do this. This made me feel like this," is an attack. And the second statement, "I will really like it if you do it this way." You're actually asking for help. "Can you help
Mm.
me with this?" And the other partner, the other person on the side, really wants to help you. Your
Yeah.
partner would love to help you, right?
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful piece of advice. And I found there was this book, Men Are from Mars and Women Are from Venus. I think that was an amazing book that kind of describes how men really think and how women really think. And that kind of
Yeah.
straightens up a lot of things. I recommend everyone read it because I feel like we are just complex humans. And it's
Yeah.
very important to understand the genders and where they're coming from. So I think that that is one beautiful example that you put in, but there are a lot more in that book. So I think I would recommend my listeners to read that. Um,
Yes. It's a
yeah,
lovely book. And I realized after reading that book that, equality can exist in an office for sure, but equality doesn't exist in an emotional world inside a relationship. A
yeah,
man and a woman, if it's a heterosexual relationship, a man and a woman are made to think differently, feel differently, and we need to learn that to
yeah,
have a good
absolutely. I absolutely agree. Oh, I cannot agree more. I thought
relationship.
we were just diving deep into this amazing conversation, Sulekha. So I thought we'll just spice things up a little bit and play a little game. So I'm just gonna ask you a few rapid fire questions, right? And I'm sure you've played this before. So as soon as I ask you the question, the first thing that pops in your head is what you will tell me. So are you ready?
Okay, yes, I am.
Okay. So here we go. So what's one relationship myth you'd love to permanently retire?
That all men are bad, because all men are not bad, and we need to get ourselves away from such negative connotations.
Love it. Soulmate or many soul connection? What's your truth?
Uh, for a romantic relationship, it can be a soulmate. So I will go with soulmate.
Okay. A book or practice that radically shifted your relationship with yourself?
Practice from book.
Okay. Yeah, a practice or a book. Yeah, that radically shifted your relationship with yourself.
Oh, a book that really Superior Man by David Deda, who is a research scientist in sexuality and spirituality.
Love it. Red flag that people spiritually bypass as a sign too often.
Red flag people usually bypass is, um,
Come on, come on, come on.
uh, if someone is too full of themselves,
Okay.
they
One,
might mistake it as self love.
they can't, sorry, what?
Being too full of oneself can be disguised as self love, which it may not be.
Okay. One sentence of advice you'd whisper to your younger self about love.
You need to love yourself fully first.
Awesome. What's your current relationship green flag obsession?
My current relationship green flag obsession is the amount of respect I get for anything and everything in life.
Love it. What's your love language and how has it evolved on your healing journey?
My love language currently is words of affirmation. I thrive on them. How they have evolved is such that I started speaking lovingly to myself, which I could never get in my childhood, unfortunately, through my parents. And that's how it evolved. And I love to be told every time that I'm supported, that you are supporting me, we are building this great relationship, and any kind of reassurance.
If healing had a scent, what would it smell like?
It would smell like Palo Santo, citrus, woody scent, maybe.
Oh, okay. Very elaborate scent on that. I'm just trying to imagine that in my head. So, what's one spiritual tool or ritual you swear by in your own relationships?
I will swear by writing about something before bursting it out to my partner, because the mind can play cognitive games sometimes. A
Mhm.
situation can be very simple, but the mind can perceive it in a very different way due to the trauma.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, last and final question. Finish the sentence. Love is blank blank.
Love is connection with the higher self.
Oh, I love that. Awesome. That was great. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, great questions. They were really nice questions, Erin. I
Yeah.
really have to say.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think um, the reason I did that was because when we talk about relationships in and coaching in relationship, it can go very deep. Um,
yeah,
and I feel like sometimes it's just so simple. I think it's just so simple, and we just complicate it in our heads.
yeah,
Um, so I think everyone has to ask maybe these questions to themselves and see what comes up, I guess. And
maybe do a rapid fire with your partner to get to know them, from time to time again. Because
uh,
people are tend to evolve. The person you liked 4 years back may not be the same person right now. So
yeah,
these questions
absolutely.
help.
Oh, I love that. Okay, take notes, guys. Take notes. Take notes. Awesome. I love it. All right. So I think what I would like to ask you, Sulekha, next is that the difference between a trauma bond versus a soul aligned relationship. So, how can someone feel the difference in their body and spirit?
Hmm. So, a very simple sign of understanding whether it's a trauma related relationship or it's a soul alignment is how you feel inside your body. If there is ease, there is peace, respect, and you feel something is right, you feel at
Mm,
peace with yourself, it is most likely a soul aligned relationship. Mind you, it can be a boring relationship on the outside, but if it's making you feel peaceful on the inside, it may be worth it.
mm,
Versus how you feel in a trauma bond: anxiety,
mm.
questions, confusions, a very high one day and a very low one day, and you remain doubtful. What is really happening? So
Yeah.
that can be trauma bond.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is what people also define, your karmic relationships versus your soulmate relationships. It's just kind of similar, I guess. So I think we really need to watch for those cues that your body is giving out and how you feel from inside and what your intuition is kind of telling you. So I think that's really important. And you beautifully described that.
Yeah. And I just want to add that to hear that well, you need to have a good relationship with your body and yourself first. You
Mm,
need to have that trust within to really trust when the voice from inside comes.
yeah,
You need to
absolutely.
trust your sensations of the body. You need to be acquainted with your body.
Yeah.
And that happens with sadhana, that happens with growing a good relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
like we talked about in the very
Yep.
beginning.
Yep. Um,
And how
you know,
trauma bond and soul aligned relationships are different.
mhm,
Imagine two trees.
yeah.
The tree one has all the roots spoiled, and hence the leaves are not healthy. The fruits are not healthy, the fruits are not even growing, and it's the plant is just not thriving. So the roots are actually having unresolved issues in a trauma bond. Tree one is trauma bond.
Mm,
That the roots here is signified by unresolved issues, and the leaves are signified by the emotional highs and lows, the push and pull dynamic, the
yeah.
codependency in a relationship. Both partners are cutting each other's karmas by being with each other, and many times, as soon as the karma gets finished, or as soon as the purpose of that relationship gets finished, the relationship also finishes. And that's why not all relationship endings are bad. Some of them are actually good for you.
Mm, yep. They just kind of help you to move on, um, make new karmas.
Yeah, yeah. And tree two is the soul aligned relationship. The roots are healthy,
Yep.
which means the root is that of self love,
Mm,
respect, and authenticity. And the leaves are signified by mutual respect, a shared commitment to grow, and hence, because the roots are healthy, the tree will thrive, the relationship will thrive. The both partners in that relationship will really thrive because they share a common goal of, commitment to growth. They really want to grow,
mm,
not just in one area of life, but in any other, in every area of life. They can choose wherever they want to grow.
yep. Absolutely. And Sulekha, would you agree that it's really important in a relationship for two individuals to also be spiritually aligned? What's your thoughts on it?
Mm, I think we are spiritual beings. All of us have the God essence within us.
Mm,
Some of us are awakened, get awake to that fact. Some of the other people may take time to realize that truth, and everyone is on their own journey. What I have seen in a lot of couples, that if one person has the deep desire for spiritual growth, it's really important for the other person to also walk the same path. Otherwise, what will really happen is one person can grow really fast and the other person might take time, and hence they will feel the difference between them.
mm, right. Yeah. Yeah. I think
And
that's very
yeah,
important. I think I feel like as you also evolve as a person, a lot of things change for the
yeah,
better. And I think if the other person is not evolving with you, they kind of lack or they do not have that foresight to see what's happening or on a bigger scale, I guess, or from a higher perspective. And there can be frictions. And would you agree? Yep.
yeah. There can be frictions, there can be conflicts, and there might be some misunderstanding because maybe the one partner is, functioning at a little different than vibration, and the other person is functioning at a different vibration. But at the end of the day, it's the journey of both the people, and they are together for a reason as well.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Awesome. Where does time go when you're having an amazing conversation, Sulekha?
It does. It just fly away.
I do I'm just enjoying this conversation so much, and I have so many more questions to ask you, but for today I think we just maybe wrap up with this one last one. And I love for you to kind of give your perspective on you speak about love as something deeper than just emotions or compatibility. It's all a spiritual journey in itself. So if that's true, so what do you see as the key rites of passage or sacred initiations that we go through on the path of conscious relationships? So how are these kind of evolving in today's world? So where, so many of us are actively healing
Yeah,
childhood wounds, unlearning generational patterns, and awakening to our true selves. So what does this journey really ask of us?
yeah. I actually have a very interesting story. That's my own personal story and my experience. Um, when I had a very messy breakup after a very messy first relationship, my entire question was, why does this have to happen to me?
Mm,
Why? And mind you, I was a toxic person in a relationship as much as my partner was. It's not like, oh, he was not right for me. No, we were both toxic with each other. So my question was, if I continue to be like this, if I continue to remain like this, how am I gonna have a good relationship in life? And my constant urge was to just outgrow those behaviors, understand what's the challenge, resolve it, and move forward with a better narrative, a better pattern. And when I started doing that, it stopped being about finding a partner. When I took that 1 or 2 years of, break from dating, I was into therapy, I was in coaching then, and all of that.
mm,
It was not for, oh, I want to find a partner. It was for, oh, I want to find myself. Why am I like this? How can I improve myself?
mm,
So, as the, something to initiate a conscious relationship is to make yourself a project with a lot of love and compassion, and looking at all the things that you would like to resolve, looking at your childhood, your generational history, your parents' relationship, how it was, your uncle, aunts, and everyone's relationship around you. What would you like to pick? What would you not like to pick? Bring clarity into what you want to have in your life, in the relationship, moving on, and then working on that step by step and manifest that.
mm.
So
Yeah.
that's one point of initiation to build a conscious relationship that I did myself as well. And it works because I just got married to my partner like 2 months ago. And it all happened because I had the hunger to work on my patterns.
Mm. Yep, absolutely. I love that. That's a very beautiful journey that you've gone through. And I know we connected very deeply and elaborately on this before. And I think it was so beautiful. So thank you for
Thank you.
sharing that and bringing, your personal experience onto the show. And so like my wish is through this podcast that it reaches many, many people and they get inspired by you, your life, your journey, and with what you do. And I hope that your advice that you've given today, that they are able to incorporate in their relationship with either self, where it all begins, and eventually into their relationship with their siblings, spouse, parents, grandparents, relatives. So that's my only wish. I think you've done an amazing job of coming and explaining everything so beautifully. So thank you very much. And
Thank
if
you so much. And
yeah,
you too. It's all because of you.
if you have a final message to give out to the audience, go for it. And with that, we'll end the show for today.
I think the only final message that I would love to give to anyone building a relationship or in a relationship already, in a marriage already, is to really strengthen the roots of self love. And this actually goes beyond bubble baths and, salt chakra meditation and so on. This really goes on to taking the hard steps, looking yourself into the mirror when something wrong happens,
Mm,
and having the desire to improve yourself, having the desire to not hurt your partner the next time, and taking yourself to the gym, maybe, or any kind of movement, because movement is therapy, and taking care of yourself in any and every situation where you show the universe that you prioritize yourself. And when
mm,
you do that, the only result that can happen is a very healthy relationship that you build with others, and especially with your romantic partner.
I love that. Amazing. Thank you so much, Sulekha. That was amazing. And thank you so much for coming on Sipping on Stories podcast. I have no words, but it was a pleasure talking with you and chatting with you today, Sulekha.
Thank you so much, Saren, for inviting me and letting me have this beautiful conversation with a beautiful person like you.
Oh, thank you. All right, you take care. And I know that you're coming to Melbourne, so
Yeah,
we can cut it off. It's fine. I won't record this, but we do catch up for that coffee, or we just keep it. It's fine.
Definitely, definitely. We have to sit all the stories in real person. Why not? Yes?
Allow it.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. It was so lovely, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you in Melbourne. And I cherish this conversation. So, yeah.
Thank you.